Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending where in the world you're joining us from for today's episode of the Vibrant Workplace podcast. This is the show where we explore how to build a better working world, and it's supported by NI Job Finder. Today we're in Barcelona, and I am absolutely thrilled to be with these two lovely people. We're here with actually the world's first verified vibrant workplace, Nuvolar Works, and we've got Marc Vivas, the CEO, and Markéta Bártová, the HR manager. Now, for context, for those of you who don't know what a verified vibrant workplace is, this is an organisation that has successfully completed our Vibrant Workplace Accelerator, and they have proven that their people most often have a good or a great day at work, are engaged with the work that they do, and think other people should come and join the organisation as well. The first question that I want to ask both of you is, why were you crazy enough to be the first organisation in the world to choose to sign up for the Vibrant Workplace Accelerator?
Oh, that's a nice question. Well, definitely, we've been in collaboration with you, Craig, on programs to improve the management skills of our people. We like very much the way you approach things. It really fits in our culture. When you start talking about this initiative, we felt compelled to be part of it, and we thought it was a great fit for our company.
I'm going to come to Markéta because Markéta is the HR lead, and I guess in HR you're usually the person who all the feedback comes to, and you're going, wait a minute, what am I going to do with all of this? So you might have heard of this initiative and thought, what? Absolutely not.
No, not necessarily, because I believe that even before we joined this initiative, I believe that for years and years we have been already doing something similar, like sending different feedback, the survey to collect the feedback. So it wasn't really completely new to us to run something like this initiative. But definitely it was a good opportunity to, again, ask people around what they think, how it is to work at Nuvolar. So it was any other good opportunity to do so.
Yeah. I think that we have this preconception, we have this idea that every company surveys their employees and gets feedback because, you go on professional networking sites like LinkedIn and you see the organizations that are posting about things like that. But you forget that most organizations in the world are not spending their time on social media and on LinkedIn. And actually, most of the businesses out there aren't soliciting feedback from their people. And I think that particularly when they go to do it for the first time, they might get nervous, they might get apprehensive, and they think, oh, anything could come out of this. And the difference with what we were doing was, it wasn't just the survey. We did, obviously, the survey in terms of engagement and net promoter levels. But we asked your people every single day for 12 weeks, how's your work going? How did you feel about that in advance?
We were confident that we were at least trying to do a good job in this regard. But of course, we've never asked on a day-to-day basis how they feel like, and we know, and it's normal, no, on a business, that there are some days that are good, some days that are not so good. You might have a complex situation with a customer, and maybe that affects your mood, and it's normal and it's okay. And I think one of the values of your program was precisely the possibility to have this sort of pulse of how things are going on a day-to-day. We could see trends when there is a problem in a project. It affects the whole team that is associated in the project, but maybe it does not affect someone else that is in a different project, and they can still have a very good day. Having this tool also help us triggering not only conversations but actions to try to mitigate potential consequence of complex situations. And I think that was interesting. I think in one liner, I think trying it was a test for us to validate what we were doing.
Yeah. And I think that you need to be commended, not just for doing it at all, but for being the ones to go first, because it's easier for other people when I can come along and say, well, we've got case studies now. I think one of the acid tests of leadership is someone who's prepared to try things, and you were both prepared to try this. Some people, might wonder why we want to do it every day, but I've always had this thing where I felt like we measure engagement, and for a lot of organizations that might be once every 18 months. And the organizations that, you know, are doing it better than that might be doing it quarterly or might be doing it a couple of times a year. But I think even engagement surveys miss a lot because we ask these directed questions about topics. But I think there's a difference with employee experience and employee engagement. In terms of your day-to-day experience of work, you could be engaged with the meaning and the purpose of the work. You might love the opportunities for growth and development in the organization, etc. But if you come to work and you have a bad day, and particularly in the software world, you might have, you know, recruiters in your inbox on LinkedIn saying, hey, I want to talk to you about this job. The more bad days that you have, the more likely you are to entertain that conversation. So this is a lot more granular. What were the kind of things that really stood out for you by doing it, you know, as intensely as that every day? What sort of things did you learn about your workforce?
I believe that we kind of maybe confirmed that all the other initiatives and how we try to approach the culture, how we try to take care of our people, that we were on a good track.
Yeah.
And the results that we've seen during whole the period of this initiative only confirm the same.
Yeah.
But I completely agree what you just said, that plenty of the times when you send out one-time survey, maybe that particular day when I'm about to respond that survey, maybe I'm not in a greatest mood, and not even because of my work, or maybe not even because of my workplace, but just because of 5 minutes before, you know, a taxi driver was rude to me. And then my score or my reply to that survey can get affected just by something that has nothing to do with the company. So the fact that we were able to ask people to think how they actually feel on day-to-day basis, which is also a question that you may not ask yourself every day. You know, so that was a really interesting part of this initiative, and again, I believe it only confirms. Sure, always there are ways of improvement and space for improvement, but I believe we only got, let's say, confirmation that we are somehow on a good track to achieve what we are trying to achieve, to have people happy and to have people engaged and have a successful company as an outcome.
I think that you know, the validation element of it is a big part of it as well. I didn't initially start out thinking about introducing this sort of vibrant workplace standard, but when the platform was being built, it then just became really clear to me, we've got so much comprehensive evidence then of what's happening in these organizations that use the platform. So why would we not use that to prove who the best employers are? And, you know, there are all these certification schemes and business awards and different things, and I get frustrated because I feel like it's a pay and display initiative a lot of the time, whereas I want the job seeker to have 100% confidence to know that if they take a job in a company and it's a verified vibrant workplace, they know that it's an organization where people are happy, but more than happy. You used the terms happy and engaged there. It's about more than just happiness, it's about engagement too. What do you see as the difference with engagement and happiness?
I think there is a correlation between the two. I cannot fathom myself not being happy at work and being engaged. I would have a struggle inside me if that was the case. Being happy, there are many levels of happiness, if you will, but let's say at the very least you should be certain amount of happy to be engaged on a job. If you are not happy, you are depressed, you are literally unhappy for whatever reason, as Markéta was pointing out before, it could be something that happens at home, in your personal life, or with the taxi driver that just dropped you to the office. No, it is most likely that your brain is revisiting the source of that unhappiness, and hence not fully devoting your time to your work, and hence not being fully engaged with what you are doing. So in my mind, I think there's a correlation between the two. Maybe it's not one-to-one, but definitely there's a high correlation between these two factors.
Yeah. What do you think, Markéta?
I would maybe add to this one that when I think about engagement and happiness, we cannot assure as an employer, as a company, that all the time employees would be always happy, because I believe it's just impossible. And precisely because of factor outside or what's happening in the business, so there might be some days that are brighter and there might be some days that are not so bright. But the engagement is, I would say, you would like to expect people to still be engaged, even if that particular day they might not be super happy. Yeah. You know, maybe the project is not going as you expect, but in an ideal world, you would expect that it will not affect so much that person will disengaged.
Yeah.
You know, so I believe somehow, not that I'm putting more importance into being engaged before happy, because I agree that these two things are related, but I believe what an employer would like to achieve is to have people engaged in many occasions, no matter what the situation is, that may make you sometimes even not really happy.
Yeah. I think that, is it realistic to expect an employer to be able to make their people happy? You know, I hear of these companies and, you know, they have a KPI around happiness. And I think, well, we want our people to be happy. We want them to live good lives. But is it realistic and is it fair to say that the KPI should be happiness?
I don't think it should be happiness. It's not something you can control. Happiness, again, because someone's happiness depends on many factors.
Yeah.
And job is just a part of your day-to-day, no? So I don't think the KPI should be happiness. I think KPI should be more on an engagement or performance of the teams, or retention, talent retention. I think those are indeed things that we at Nuvolar are looking into.
Yeah.
And all the work that we did through the Accelerator program and what we did before and after is goes towards these sorts of KPIs, if you will, concerning more about not that we are not concerned that people is happy, but we understand that there is many areas we cannot control, and as Markéta say, we cannot expect that everyone will be happy all day long.
Yeah.
Just to add to this point, I think the tool, the mood tool that we have through the program, it makes you reflect on your day, and this is something Markéta was mentioning before, that is something that you don't really do on a daily basis, but having this tool made you take a step back and for a moment and say, okay, I just had a bad conversation with this one, but in the morning was a good day, so overall, what's my average? No, maybe it's not very good, today is good because I had this, but at least it makes you reflect on your, say 8 hours working day.
It's part of the feedback that I was the most pleased to see when people started to use the platform was, I remember getting some feedback from somebody who said, previously, I might have thought that I'd had a bad day, but then when mooqi asked me and I had to reflect on it, I couldn't say it was a bad day because it was a bad thing that happened in the day rather than the whole day being bad. It's almost like a little exercise in emotional intelligence. But, you know, whoever asks you, particularly in work, not in Nuvolar Works, but in any company in general, how often does someone come along and just say, how's your work going? It's not something that happens that often. So when I was actually thinking about having the platform built, it was one of the things that I wanted was for people to have this kind of therapeutic release, to be able to get things off their chest. I know in my experience, if you asked my wife, get to the end of the working day, no one's asked me all day how my work's been, and she might say to me and then wish she hadn't asked the question. So it was kind of a way, I wanted people to have this way, to be able to get things off their chest, have that release, and be able to go home and enjoy their life outside of work, knowing that they've had their say and people care about the feedback that they're submitting. I think that's a really important part of all of this, though, is having someone on the other side who does care. But even that, you know, coming back to a point that I made previously, you can have a great HR person or HR department who really do care, But it's also not realistic or fair or reasonable to just take all that feedback, dump it on HR, and go, right, go and make everyone happy, go and make everybody engaged. I think one of the big changes that needs to happen in the world is this idea of chief happiness officers and things like that. I think it sends out the wrong message. It says this person over here is going to make me happy. No, the only way that you can be happy is if you choose to be an active participant in that. So how do you approach that? How do you, whether it's with this process or whether it's, with other initiatives that you've introduced in the past, how do you get clear with people that if they want to be happy, they want to have a positive experience of work, they want to engage with the work they do, they have to lean in and play an active role in making that happen?
I believe that we focus a lot when communicating. I can think of an example when it comes to professional development, right? We are asking plenty of questions through different, let's say, channels or conversation. And when we receive such feedback, for instance, that I would like that the company dedicates more time related to my professional development, we would definitely, sit down and talk about it in front of everyone, making the point clear that yes, we can definitely give you a hand and help you to find different opportunities. Mm-hmm. But the impulse or the action has to come from you, because at the end of the day, you are the one that understands what are your preference, what are your goals, what you want to achieve. So similarly to the happiness, as you say, this is not, happiness is not raining from the sky, and it's not a responsibility of one person. Rather, it should really come from you first. So you have to take the accountability. And I believe that the word accountability there is a really important factor that we are trying to, emphasize, that it's a really important in all different areas, not only when it comes to professional development, but even, how you work on your day-to-day in a project, etc. Yeah. So the accountability for me there, it's a key, and we are trying to, take the opportunity always, whether it's during the company presentation or even during one-to-one, to emphasize this importance of the accountability.
I think that, you can create the circumstances in which people can be happy and they can engage, but they've got to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them. They've got to kind of own their experience of work. And that's one of the key things that, I've certainly tried to do with this strategically, is think about how do we cascade ownership of the lived experience in a company out throughout the teams, so that the teams are coming together, looking at what's affecting them, and they're starting to try and drive the change that they want to see. Because that's how we can really make a difference. Even with the best intent in the world, you can be the nicest chief happiness officer on the planet, but you're one person. Mm-hmm. And I think, something I've noticed from a lot of the companies that I've worked with, and you probably noticed this yourself, but a lot of the stuff that needs attention is often only stuff that the team can do something about. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, a lot of the time I find it's about things like relationships. Communication is massive. The way that people interact with each other. One of the things that seems to determine whether people have a positive or a negative day at work that I'm finding is if they go to work and they set out to achieve this, this, and this, if they get it done, they go home feeling like they had a good or a great day. If they didn't get it done, they feel bad about themselves. They say they had a bad or a terrible day. And if you think about what determines a lot of the time whether someone gets their work done, it's the crossover and the impact and the communication and the synergy with other coworkers. And that's the sort of stuff that you can have all the right intentions as a CEO, as an HR director, you can have all the right ideas, but actually it's the team that need to think about how they're interacting with each other and the knock-on effect that they have on each other. So I would like to ask you why this stuff matters to you, to both of you. And I think a lot of the time this kind of stuff, it's imprinted on you. Your values come from the experiences that you've had. So do you want to tell those who are watching or listening to this episode a little bit about your backgrounds? What brought you to the point where you are in your career now, doing business in the way that you do today?
Markéta, go first.
So, well, to answer your question, so my background lays in psychology, because I did study psychology in the past. And then I did my master in psychology, but focusing more on the company and organization. So when I was about to decide where to go next, so I knew that it should be somewhere in a company and HR department, or kind of, well, I would say HR department. And HR department, as we know, it's kind of a broad department depending on the company where you go. And when I found myself at the end, and that's what I like the most, it's the diversity when you work in a smaller, let's say, relatively smaller company, where you have an opportunity to touch different areas of HR. Maybe one day you are dedicating to training, the other day you are dedicating precisely to engagement of employees or organizing an activity. And to close, why it matters to me, I would say because I'm just a person. I mean, I don't think so that there is any extraordinary explanation. It's just like I'm a person as anyone else, and I believe that no matter where you go, you just want to have a nice time around, surrounded by nice people, having a good experience, even while working. We are working generally plenty of hours a year or in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So we better make it, worth it to spend so many hours with people around and doing something that might be meaningful. So I believe I'm just a person that wants others to have a good time and doing something meaningful while enjoying it.
You're a human being at the heart of all of this as well. And a lot of the time, I think more junior people in a business don't look at more senior people as also human beings. They kind of think you're just this corporate robot who's, making their life difficult. But you're a human being too, and you want to come to work and you want to enjoy your own experience of work. And the best way to do that is to have good relations with the people that you work with. But you say, I don't think it's an extraordinary, viewpoint, but actually there's so many businesses that don't operate that way. I mean, you would be amazed at the number of times that I get told things like, I don't want to talk about that soft, fluffy millennial BS, right? That comes up a lot, but you chose to do business differently. So it's more extraordinary than you realize.
Could be.
What about for you, Marc? What was your background before, obviously, Nuvolar?
I'm a computer engineer. I would say important fact is that I am the third boy in a family of 5 boys. So there was a lot of testosterone in my family. And I've always been more introvert than my other brothers. The other are fascinatingly extroverts. And I always felt myself more an introvert. Maybe that brought me, I don't know if directly or indirectly, to computer engineering. Computer engineering nowadays looks more fashionable because of, the big guys and the tech bros that we see on the media. But when I studied, I was a weirdo by studying computer engineering. So it didn't help me so much to take out this introvert feeling. But I always felt that regardless of how you feel, you could succeed in life being a good person. And in my mind, this is a must-have. So, and actually, our HR recruitment process today starts with analyzing the HR aspects of the individuals, because we don't want people that might be super great technically, but they don't know how to work with other people, how to be nice to other people. So this is a conversation Markéta and I have many times. When before I used to be more active on the recruitment process, and Markéta and I had some cues during the interview process to give each other during the interview process to give each other what do we feel about the candidate or not. No?
Right.
And when we discussed them, we after the HR interview, we said, okay, this looks like a good person that could fit with our company. Let's see if they technically also fit. No? Yeah. And we've always thought that being a good person is what we want, to have a bunch of good people that on top of them are good professionals. But if you are a good person, you will help your colleague when they need you, without someone else directing you to help. No, it needs to come out of your inner you. No,
I think everyone says that, right? About, you want to get good people, and first and foremost, you want to hire for character and attitude and things like that. But while everybody says it, I think that when push comes to shove, you're under pressure, you need to get a vacancy filled, you need someone to start doing that job. You have this person and you've got concerns about them. I think a lot of the time, the biggest problem comes from we compromise our values, we bring in the wrong person, and then that causes so many problems. And I'm sure you've both found yourself in that position where at times you're going through the recruitment process, you're looking at people and you're going, I think this is a risk, but I also know that we need to get this vacancy filled. Have you ever been in that position?
We've had this situation, but our option has always been to keep looking.
Yeah.
Right, Markéta? I mean, when we see a big risk, we don't just fill the position. We rather keep looking a bit more, because it just takes one rotten apple to rotten the whole basket. No,
absolutely.
And that's of course we've been in the situation where we have had the need to fill a position, and we were looking to candidates like, maybe this candidate would fit the technical part, but we don't feel comfortable with this person, and we decided not to go forward and keep looking. That has, from a business perspective, we are confident that we are taking it aligns with our values and the way what we think the company should be. But from a colder view, someone that doesn't look to people, they would say, you guys are wasting your time. You could grow much faster if you lower your let's say requirements and we decide to take the other approach. We make sure that we do everything in our hands to try to make sure, because we not always succeed, because the interview process in the end is an interaction of just certain amount of time with an individual. But we do all our best, and when we make a call, we are confident that we make the call with all the information that we had, that we are finding the right person.
Yeah.
Markéta, if you want to add.
No, I was thinking, like if I remember any case that we would have brought someone on board knowing that culturally speaking, what we call it, would be a wrong fit. I don't recall that we ever did that, because it would be just, opening kind of worms and you better maybe spend 2, 3, 4 weeks more of the time to look for a right person rather than just fixing all the problems that would come along with that person on board. So this is something that is a must to have, that the person somehow at least fits culturally speaking with all the other people, with the team in particular. It's there is no exception.
I love that. I love that you actually commit to your values there, because as I say, a lot of organizations talk about these things and it sounds great on social media, but actually doing it in the moment when you're under pressure and you need to fill a role, that's where the real acid test is.
It does create uncomfortable conversations sometimes with the customer. Of course. But I think if anything, we're talking about recruitment process here, but if anything, in one of our values is we are very honest and transparent with our clients, and we tell them, look, we have not found the right person. We don't want to bring just anyone just to fill the spot. We will do whatever it takes to compensate if this affects the team, and we will do that and we deliver. But we don't risk bringing someone in, because it's I think it on the long run it has a bad effect. If we brought in someone and that we are not convinced could be a good fit, and that could put in jeopardy the customer's project, the effects will be much worse afterwards. So we'd rather, let's say, keep it, at a normal pace instead of an expedited pace, just to fill the role, and make sure that the person that we hire is a good fit. And this way, we also are convinced that we are providing the best service to our customers by providing the best talent on their projects.
Yeah, and it can cause years of problems. It can be very expensive and very painful when you bring the wrong person in, and then, you have to try and manage them out and go through that process. But what tells you during that recruitment process then, what tells you that the person is a good fit?
It's just a feeling. I mean, we don't, Mark, you mentioned that we would give a sign to each other, but we don't even have to talk any longer. You see that person, you have a conversation, you don't even have to ask any specific question.
Yeah.
It's just having a conversation with this person, see how that person reacts. All the little details will tell you whether that person is a good fit or not.
I think it's amazing just how much you do learn about someone in that conversation, because, I always remember this one scenario. I was in an interview and I was interviewing this guy, and I gave him a scenario-based question where I said to him, look, you're in this situation where you're getting feedback from your team manager, and your manager has informed you that there are issues with your performance and that you've got certain targets that you need to hit within a certain period of time. And the question was along the lines of, what is your plan going to be? How are you going to address this? What are you going to do to make the improvements over the next few weeks? And instantly the guy responded by saying to me, well, the first thing that I would say is the manager's not always right. And I thought, I mean, you're in an interview here. It's a scenario you've been given. The scenario's not up for debate. It's what and that immediately made me think, can this person take feedback? Do they respond well to that sort of, constructive feedback? And I've seen so many situations like that where people tell you so much about themselves. At the same time, I've seen it work the other way around, where I always remember a company where I worked in where one of the things that we would do is these group debates, where we would bring all the candidates in together and we would get them to debate a sort of sensitive topic to see how they interact with each other. Are they assertive? Can they make a point but at the same time respect other people's viewpoints, etc.? And they had 15 minutes, and this one guy stood up at the start in front of all the candidates and he said, listen, I've been in a situation like this in the past where we overran the time and everybody in the group failed, so none of us got the job. And he said, so I'm going to tell you that it's now, this time. And he said, I'll let you know when there's 5 minutes to go and when we need to wrap it up. And I thought, wow, this guy is so coordinated, so organised. I'm going to give him the job, right? And he got the job and he turned it out to be the biggest weirdo that I have ever met. So, we can learn a lot through the recruitment process, but it is also always a bit of a gamble, isn't it? But have you got to the point where you feel like, most of the time you do get the right people?
I believe we do.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are really and whenever I have an opportunity to talk to the candidates, what I always tell them, we are really good at the process. I believe the really great advantage that you have recruiters in-house, that they live the experience, that they know how, the team is and how the company is, who are the people that we are looking for. Because then if you externalize maybe the position, to an external recruiter, it's really hard to transmit all the experience now of the company, who we are and who we are looking for. And I have to say that our recruiters are really good at, understanding who we are looking for, and throughout the process, we are able really to detect all the little details, having, conversation to, at the end, make a right decision and to bring the right person on board. I don't recall in a long time, and even if ever, that we got someone on board and it was a fail just straight after, or a really negative surprise afterwards.
I
don't
remember one before you. Yeah, definitely one before you. But it was, well, as we were saying before, and you were actually pointing out now with this person on that debate, no. The recruitment process, it just takes so long, and you can only notice so much. You can do all the effort, and although we aim for excellence, and one thing I keep discussing with Markéta, and we both agree, every time we need to let someone go because he or she did not perform as we had expected, we consider it a failure on our end.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we revisit. Why didn't we notice this before? Do we need to tweak anything in the process to try to detect these sort of things? But of course, the reality is that we aim for the best. We aim for making a good hire always, and I think we are doing a very good job. But we are doing a very good job because in the vast majority of the cases it is like that. And that stands by itself. But I do remember a case that was before Markéta joined, which was a person that had a mental situation, mental health situation. So during the interview process, he was a guy, showed certain skills, but it seemed that he had multiple personalities, if you will. So then when he came to work, he had a different approach to work and the team and everything around it. So that was the only case I remember since we've been in Nuvolar. And Markéta was not involved in this case, so that's why she doesn't recall. But we that was the only situation, and I guess I'm not trained to detect this.
So that situation happened. You've got that person in the business. They're having an impact on the team. What sort of impact were they having?
Very negative impact on the team. The bigger problem in this particular case is that. He joined. We did. I had everything planned to onboard him when he came to the office, but for some reason, and then we knew it had to do with a medical condition, he joined 2 weeks later. So the day before joining, he said he wouldn't come and he would need 2 more weeks, and that fell while I was away on vacation. There was someone else in charge of onboarding him. So the very same day I got to the office after vacation, and the guy had been there for a week, I noticed it physically, that there was something going wrong with him, and the way he moved, he was dragging his feet on the carpet, and there was something weird going on, and then we discussed with the people that had been with a week with him on the office, and of course got concerns message, and then I had a chat with him, and then it was then that I realized that there was a mental issue going on, and he was not fit for work, or at least at that moment in his time, he was not fit for work.
So in a situation like that, it's difficult because obviously, Markéta, from an HR perspective, you've got to provide support and resources to a person in that situation. So I think that there are, particularly in the last few years, there's so much that, life has become difficult in many ways, or more difficult in many ways for a lot of people. And you will have people who are coming to work who've got mental health issues, who are stressed or anxious or depressed, they're under pressure. And you've got to get that balance between wanting to look after that person and support that person, but also having to draw some boundaries and say, no matter what's going on, you also have to be a team player. You have to think about your impact on the team. I mean, that's a difficult situation to be stuck in the middle of, either from an HR perspective or, an employer in general's perspective. So where is the balance there? How do you find that balance between wanting to support that person and help that person, but also protect the team and the interests of the business?
I would say the answer again is circling back to the commitment, meaning everyone has particular situation, and sometimes, a good period of life and the bad period of life. And obviously all of us, we are people. So we had, and I'm sure that we will have also different situations in the company where maybe someone that, up until now everything was going well, suddenly, maybe a personal situation has changed, or there are some difficulties that this person is facing.
Yeah.
So we are always there to support that person, in whatever way we can. at the end of the day, we are people, so we understand, that maybe for that particular period of time, that person may not perform as well as it was before. So we are always there to support people in whatever situation, as long as that even during these difficult times, they show in return a certain commitment. We are in it all together. We can help you in whatever way we can. And in return, we do expect that, you will do your best to overcome the situation and to try to back into the, I don't want to say normality, but, back on the track to be able to, help us to make the project going on, support the team. So, we had plenty of these situations where employees or our people needed our help and
they can also make use of the medical benefits that we have in the office, and they can go and have some mental health doctor that help them in their situation. I think an important part is communicating. If we detect, and this is something eventually you see, that if you detect someone, there's something going on with an individual, and it was not there a week before or a month before, we try to approach this person and ask in confidence, hey, are you okay? Is there anything troubling you? They might open to you or not. That's fair, and they can decide whether or not. But we can always say, hey, if you know that we have the support of psychologists through our medical insurance, for instance, and if you need help there, we also offer coaching services. Where sometimes it's not they are having mental issues, but they are having they are figuring out where they want to go, and that is troubling them. No, and we offer coaching services, and those services are confidential, and they might be talking with the coach about that they want to eventually do something else that we cannot provide in Nuvolar, and that's fair, and because we are offering the coach for them, and if through their conversation it takes them out of Nuvolar, it takes them out of Nuvolar. We want them to be happy beyond Nuvolar, and if that's what they figure out that they need to do, I think it's okay. That the thing I always say that is the thing I'm happy of is when someone leaves Nuvolar. And I'm talking about the people leaving, and not about all the retention that we are doing, which we're doing a lot, but the people that leave, the question that I have to them always is, did you learn something through your time in Nuvolar? Did you enjoy your time in Nuvolar? Because they might have new interests now, or they might want to try new technology that we don't touch, or try new industries that we don't work with. So that's fair. But at least when they look back sometime in the future, when they look back, as I look back from time to time what I did in the past, that they said, the time I spent in Nuvolar was worth it.
Yeah. So I guess, you show an interest in people, you've got compassion for people, you want to support people, you provide those resources, you provide support available to help people. But beyond that, you do have to have those boundaries, and you've got to protect the team. You've got to protect the interests of the business. And I can imagine that sometimes those conversations are difficult. And I'm thinking back to something that you said previously, Marc. You referred to yourself as an introvert. And one of those, debates that goes around is whether an introvert can be a leader. So you chose, obviously, it was the most comfortable thing in the world for you then to decide I'm an introvert, so I want to be responsible for, 120 people? And you must have to have difficult conversations all the time. So how do you approach those then, if that's something that you don't feel is particularly natural for you?
I was in a training a few months ago, and I was telling the trainer that I was an introvert, and he said, no, maybe you were back in the day, but you're not anymore. truth be told, I guess aging counts because you become a parent and suddenly many things in your life change. But also you grow a thicker skin, and you feel more confident of certain things, and all those aspects make that maybe nowadays I don't feel as introvert as I was when I was younger. Still, as I was telling you before, I don't like to be on the spot. Markéta knows this very well, and she always tries to put me in shame.
Which is why you're here on a podcast today, loving it.
But I think it's more seniority that they give you the tools to have, at least in my case, to have those difficult conversations and try to talk from experience or from, let's say, trying to be understanding. And having met so many people, we're 120 today, but we've recruited many people. There have been people coming in, leaving, and we've met a lot of people. So we've seen different types of behaviors, different type of situation. We've learned through our mistakes. We've learned through the situations that we lived, and we have, let's say, a good set of tools now when we approach any difficult conversation to try to have a comforting, up to whatever it can, no? But a comforting conversation to discuss the topic of that conversation.
Yeah.
No?
I always think of that topic, and I kind of think that sometimes people deny themselves opportunities in their career and profile and status because they might think this is not comfortable for me. I'm an introvert, so they don't take those opportunities that are out there. I would consider myself to be an introvert, but sometimes I have to stand on stage in front of a couple of hundred people, and I want the earth to swallow me up. But you know what? If you want to achieve the things that you want to achieve and get to where you want to get to in your career, I think it's really sad sometimes when people hold themselves back. They don't get those opportunities. So do you think then that someone who might be listening who is an introvert, do you think that they have the potential to be a leader, Marc?
They have indeed. I mean, maybe as an introvert, the thing that I worried the most was lying. No? And so when Markéta forces me to talk to everyone or being here, I am not so uncomfortable because I don't need to pretend. I'm telling you how I feel. When I talk to the employees, I tell them I'm not hiding things. We have a pretty transparent conversation in the company. We share a lot of business information with employees. So I am not pretending, giving them false hope or a false message. I tell them how I feel, how I want the company to be, how I want the teams to behave, and how I want them to be accountable, because I think that is very important. And by saying things that I truly believe, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe if you ask me, try to say something that I don't really believe, then I will have a struggle in me to say it.
And you're trying to script things and rehearse things and remember and make sure you say.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Today we don't have a script.
Exactly, yeah. So we have this hidden teleprompter over here. So look, you proved across the accelerator that you are an organization where people are most often having a positive day at work, engaged. So it's not just happiness, not just, there are a lot of organizations, not a lot of organizations, but there are organizations where people are happy, but they're not contributing. Engagement for me is about participation. People are coming to work, they want to contribute. You prove that your people are happy, but also that they're coming to work to make a difference. And thirdly, through the employee net promoter mechanism, that they're recommending other people come and join the company as well. Now, I know you both are humble people, and you're probably sitting there thinking, well, we just do our jobs, we run our business. But most businesses aren't like that. So what's the difference that makes the difference? What are the things that you have found over the years contribute to that and help people to come to work and enjoy their work, but want to contribute as well? We're both looking at Markéta, the HR person.
I'm looking at Markéta.
I'm thinking. No, I believe that it's a good question. There are several factors that I believe that goes into our favor. The first one, that even if we are growing as a company, we try to keep the the structure flat. So anyone, even if you are a recent joiner and you are joining as a junior developer, if you want to have a chat with Marc, you can. You will just drop him a message over Slack and he would be more than willing to talk with you about whatever topic.
I love how you were volunteering Marc again there. He's thinking, no, don't contact me.
No. I mean,
I do tell them. On the first day I meet them, I commit personally that they can do that.
Yeah.
So the flat structure, we can use the term open door policy, even if I believe that sometimes companies use it and they are a little bit of empty words, but when we say it, we really mean it.
Yeah.
The approachable way that, everyone is open to talk, to help, to give you a hand with whatever you may need. The collaboration, the hunger for building and doing something together, which makes sense for everyone. But all this, if you put it together, and then of course we have plenty of nice perks and nice benefits, but I believe the core again falls to who we are as people.
Yeah.
And the people that we bring on board and the team that you work together and the fun that you have with these people while working. This is the kind of the core pillar.
Yeah.
Based on what you build all the other nice things to have. So I would say that it starts with the people that are in the company and all the rest then are nice to have or complementary. So we do a lot of nice things. Yeah. But I believe that the core of everything is who we are.
I think it's really interesting. Anytime we have this conversation, you always come back to people and relationships and communication because you do have big policies, big, initiatives that most companies don't do. You've got, and we can talk about it in a moment, but we've got your freedom policy. You've obviously got your 100% remote work option, etc. You've got these things that you're doing, but actually anytime we talk about what makes the culture of your business so good, you never talk about those. You talk about the relationships.
But that would be actually when you ask and it's really curious. But if you go to our company and you ask our employees what they enjoy the most about the company, most likely, and I know per se, they wouldn't answer, the policy that or that policy. They would say the people. Yeah. And that's where again falls everything and where the answer is. It's the people. It's and for me, it's the same. I really like to collaborate and face different challenges and we are having good time because it's a pleasant company, to be in. So, and on top, we have a really nice policies. We give a lot of flexibility to our people, but for me, it's not the core of what makes us different. Yeah, maybe on a paper, yes, but
definitely going back to the people, this happens over and over. We have employees that become friends with their colleagues, even if they leave Nuvolar. They keep having those conversations, and I am very happy to see colleagues, former colleagues, meeting with our current colleagues. Posting pictures together, or I went to visit him or her here and use that opportunity to and I think that says a lot. And also on this remote scenario, when we do the company events, there's people that interact for the very first time, and you see there's a connection. Yeah, and it's weird because they might have never seen face-to-face before if that person had just recently joined, no? But they work well together. We do team activities together, and they mingle, and they have chats, and they talk about hobbies, and I think that's what stays.
Yeah, absolutely. And that point around the remote working and bringing people together. How frequently do you bring people together then to interact in person?
Well, on several occasions. I mean, like if people want to go to the office every single day, they can. Okay. If they want to work fully remote, they can. Right. They have a social budget to use for if they want to meet their team and to go for a dinner, they can. Right. If they want to meet online and play a escape room, they can. But what we also do, we run several different events throughout the year. But the biggest ones, if you will, is the summer party that we run in June, where we actually bring all people like from all different corners of the world.
I'm still waiting for my invite.
And then there is a second one, and the biggest one, which is happening usually on or in September, which is the weekend out, where we spend from Friday till Sunday, some of us, having a team building activity, dinner, lunch, and just, bonding around.
Yeah.
And everyone looks forward.
It's
to this.
the most expected event of the year.
A lot of pressure to organize that, I'm sure.
It's a lot of, it's like, we were considering whether we should actually get a event planner to organize that, because, an event for...
And the expectations get higher and higher.
Exactly,
because
exactly.
They tend to go very well. We welcome feedback. So every time we do these events, and HR triggers, a survey amongst everyone, say what did work, what didn't work, what could we improve next time, etc. Maybe one of the recent challenges of the past few years is to find a place that is big enough to host all of us, especially when we are, shooting above 100 people in the office. We never have everyone, because there's always some personal situation that, and it's voluntarily to come. But once you surpass 80 people, it's difficult to find places where you can host so many people and still be kind of secluded, so that you can have your fun together, etc.
Exactly, yeah. So tell me this, we've only got a few minutes left, and I'm really curious, because we've obviously been working together for a few years, and I know that, and other people might not know, that you weren't always a remote working company, or maybe you had some flexibility back then as well, but it wasn't, you didn't have the opportunity to work 100% remotely. In what ways has that impacted the culture of the business, either positively or negatively?
Well, it's a very good question, and I think it's up in the media now, because there's a lot of companies bringing people back. I think considering that, to be consistent with our message, considering that we do believe we are a people-first company, and this is not just a sentence on the website. I don't think we do even have this sentence on the website.
Okay.
But I do know that the companies say these things on the website, and they don't really believe it.
Yeah.
Consider people first. That what we did is we asked our people, what do you guys want to do?
Okay.
Now, the pandemic is over. Should we go back to the office, or what do you want to do? Because the pandemic made people make life-changing decisions, such as moving out of a small flat with no balcony in Barcelona to a small house in the countryside, where I can have, my garden, and if there's another confinement, at least I can, walk my garden. So when we asked the people, it was absolutely clear. People wanted to keep the flexibility to work in remote. But we also offer, because there was some people that also said, well, like we like socializing in the office, having those coffee conversations, if you will, and we decided then we will have an office. You can go to the office whenever you want, but if you prefer to work remote, you can do that. And then HR did all this great work to try to put together activities, whether all these activities that Markéta was mentioning before, but some of them even remote activities that we do online, but it's just a brief moment of, breaking with the day-to-day work and doing something fun. Yeah.
Okay. So you have an employee net promoter score, which is, I've got it written down here. I think it was 43.9, which is, for those who don't know what an employee net promoter score is, because a lot of people won't, it goes from -100 to +100. Okay, so your score is classed as really, really, really good. And that means that people in your organization are so connected emotionally to their work in the company that without being asked to, they would go out of their way to tell people, you should come and take a job in our company. So let's say that they see that Nuvolar is hiring. You don't even need to tell them. They will already be saying to people, my company's hiring, come and work here. If someone said to them, what is it about Nuvolar that is so good? Why should I take this job with Nuvolar? Why should I apply there? What do you think their answer would be?
I would answer again people, but you don't like this answer because
No, I love
I'm
this
repeating
answer.
myself. But
Well, but I think in the
Culture.
but that in the moment that a friend of you who knows you tells you, come and join, that friend, if it's your friend, you already rely on the credibility. If he tells, I know you and I know my company, you're a good fit.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Yeah. And actually, I think I read a report a few months ago. Well, I did read a report, but I'm trying to remember the exact number. I think it said that someone is 2.7 times more likely to take a job in a company if they've been recommended to go and work there by somebody that they know and trust. So that was kind of going to bring me on to, I guess, just in terms of building that sort of reputation. The relationships are important, but how important are the headline topics, your freedom policy, your 100% remote work? I mean, if you removed those things, do you think that you would still have such a strong culture?
yes, maybe people, like once you offer something really, really nice, like sweets to kids, and just straight after you will take it back, it would backfire, I imagine.
But we had that before we had this policy.
Okay.
So I think we are just trying to go ahead of time and valuing the work-life balance, which for us is very important. All these policies go towards improving the work-life balance of our employees without affecting our productivity. And I think it is very important to state this, that before putting these policies in place, and this was a very hard work from HR, we did a lot of work to make sure that we had a baseline, to make sure that our productivity was set, and that any of these policies affected the productivity. Clients didn't notice it, it was not affected, and people then, on top of that, had a better work-life balance, and that's worth it.
So for those who don't know, then, what is freedom?
It's a really nice policy to start with. No. Basically, it's what Marc mentioned. I believe that maybe it was COVID that kind of triggered the concept of work-life balance. And we realized that, before maybe all the nice perks like fresh fruit at the office and everything, I believe that it's no longer the case, or at least in our case. And we started focusing more on what really matters to people. And the answer for us was the work-life balance, how we can balance the hours that you spend at work with your colleagues with, whatever comes after. Yeah. So we started thinking out loud what kind of perks or conditions or initiatives we can put in place in order to improve each work-life balance. And one of the policy that we put in place is that basically, as long as things are going well, as long as you are able to deliver what you should deliver when it comes to the project or any milestone and commitment, you can actually have a nice and longer weekend from Friday to Sunday every second week. So that's what we call freedom.
So who first came up with the topic of the 4-day week within Nuvolar? Who was the person who came? Was it one of the team members, or was it one of you?
I think it was directed by HR.
Was it? Yeah.
HR. I mean, HR again is doing a good job keeping up to date with that market trends and started looking into it and realized, because of course there might be the misconception that you just work less, no? Yeah. And the tricky part here is that you work as much, but you just have more free time. No? And this is achievable and doable, and we did it. And part of the process and the initiative from HR was investigating into this. It took us months, many months, to analyze it, put it in place. We did a pilot test first. It turned out successful. No one was affected. No delivery was failed. People were super engaged. If you know that let's say you have your next Friday, you have the Friday off, and it's Thursday, and you still have work to do, but you want to enjoy the Friday off, so you would do whatever it takes to wrap up your work so that your team can continue working, because of course there's someone working on Friday. It's not that no one works. There's alternating teams, etc. But people do whatever it takes to make sure that they have the right to enjoy the Friday.
Yeah.
And I think it has been very successful.
So you've got to have that caveat then of, yes, we want to give you the work-life balance. We want to do all these nice things, but it's also got to be beneficial for the business too. We've got to have a business to come back to.
Yeah, and clients shouldn't be affected.
Yeah.
And your colleagues shouldn't be affected. You shouldn't leave work unwrapped, and no one can continue on the Friday. So there's a process.
I think there are a lot of companies out there who talk about organizational culture because it's great for their employer brand. They talk about, we're this wonderful company to work for, okay? And everyone puts up the graphics and the videos and social media and it all looks lovely. It almost looks like if you take a job with them, it's going to be some kind of adult playground, right? There's not going to be any work to do, okay? We're just going to have fun all day. I think that's the wrong message to send out, because you want people to want to join you to come and do meaningful work, first and foremost. But then you do all these nice things, and these are, things that really show the difference. There's the organizations who talk about this stuff, but there's the organizations that go, yeah, we're going to try these things. We're going to try 100% remote work. We're going to try, Friday off every other week, etc. If these things don't work, but you can be transparent and honest with your workforce to say, look, here's what the measurement of success is going to be. If it works, we'll keep it. If it doesn't, we won't. These are the things that really prove your leadership qualities for me. But for you, and this is the last question that I'm going to ask you, okay, because we need to wrap it up. But how do you know that it's worth doing this stuff? How do you know that the way that you're running this business is the right way to run the business?
Just by talking with people, we receive a lot of feedback, a really positive feedback. We also notice that with all the nice things that we put in place, people are maybe way more hesitant to leave for something else, because I don't think so that there are so many companies like we are on the market. But just by talking with people, I believe that so far everyone is really happy, and they told us that, it's a great place, and they are happy about all the initiatives and committed to make it work. So I would say based on the feedback.
Yeah, and I think we also feel it as individuals. Yeah. I mean, we feel if we can do it, why don't we do it? Yeah. And it's just as simple as that. So if we can do it, we can make it work. And it's hard work to put these policies in place, but we are up for it, no? And we do it, we make it work. And as you're saying, we were very transparent with the people. We explained, we are going to try this. Yeah. This is what we expect to get, and we will analyze every year if things go still on track. If things go still on track, we will keep it. If for some reason done, and we of course have means to control it, we might not be able to enjoy it. And people understand and they vouch for it. So if we see people, when you do something, you might not know if you're doing the right thing, but when you see the effect that this has on people and is a positive one, then it just validates that was the good decision to take.
Yeah. Okay. So if we have anybody who's watching or listening to this episode and they're thinking, okay, this company sounds really interesting, what kind of vacancies do you typically have? What sort of roles would you be hiring for?
Well, the majority of the positions that we have are developers with different technology. I would say that would be kind of top position that we might be hiring for over the time. We also have a team of product owners and QA engineers, consultants
for Salesforce.
So there are quite some.
Okay, where should we direct people to?
To our website or to our LinkedIn, where they can find out not only what vacancies we have open, but also we are quite active on social media, where they can find out what culture we have. We are posting quite a lot, so I believe they can find a lot of information about us out there.
I can vouch for them. I know that they're really good people, really nice people, worked with a lot of them, but more importantly than that, we have the evidence coming from mooqi. They've been through the accelerator. They've proven that their people are most often having a good or a great day at work. They're engaged with the work they do. They're telling other people to come and join the company too. They are a verified Vibrant Workplace. Thank you for coming on and sharing what you have with us today. But thank you also for your commitment to doing business the way that you do, because I genuinely do believe that we would have a much better world if there were a lot more organizations that did truly care about their people and look after their people. It's a commitment to your people to do that. It's a commitment to your business, but it sounds really cheesy. It's actually a commitment to society as well to do business the way that you do. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to everybody who has tuned in and watched or listened to this. Hope you found it to be interesting. If you have, I would really appreciate if you would give it a 5-star rating, a follow and a share on social media so that we can get these stories out to as wide an audience as possible and build a better working world together. That's it for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it.